Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving into the raw, absolutely authentic 1850 memoir of Molly Carringer. She was an 82-year-old pioneer woman, and let me tell you, her firsthand story completely reshapes how we view the building of America. We always hear so much about the founding fathers, right? The generals, the soldiers, but today we're looking at history through the eyes of a woman who literally tamed the harsh Pennsylvania wilderness with her bare hands. It's a story of pure grit, survival, and a completely different kind of nation building.
So picture this. It's early 1850. Molly's sitting in her cabin. Her eyes are failing. Her voice is tired, but her spirit, it's incredibly sharp. Let's jump right into her intimate first-hand account. This was quite literally meant to be a survival guide passed down to her grandkids before her time ran out. Come sit by me, children. Gather close. I want you to know my story, your grandmother's story, so you can carry it forward when I'm gone. It's this beautiful oral history from a grandmother who knew exactly how much her life meant to the generations that would follow.
And that brings us to a really crucial question, one that Molly's life answers brilliantly. How did pioneer women actually build America? We're so used to these famous tales of soldiers and politicians, but Molly's memoir shines a bright light on a grueling, totally unrecorded warfare against the wilderness itself. It was the women who had to sustain the life that the men laid claim to. They were the invisible backbone of westward expansion, turning raw, untouched land into actual breathing communities.
Section 1. Early Life and Marriage. I mean, just look at this rapid transition. Molly was born in 1768 into this bustling, German-speaking Maryland household with 13 children. It was loud, crowded, and safe. But in May 1785, at just 17 years old, her life takes a monumental turn. She becomes a teenage bride, packs up her entire life, leaves her beloved mother and siblings behind, and steps out onto the rugged Pennsylvania frontier. Moving to Westmoreland County and eventually deep into the Mercer County wilderness in 1796 was a massive leap into a world where everything she knew was just left far behind.
The contrast between these two is just wild, and it completely defined her early adulthood. On one side, you've got Martin. He's a hardened 27-year-old Revolutionary War veteran who survived the brutal winter at Valley Forge, and yeah, he was known for having a pretty fierce temper. On the other side, you have Molly, a 17-year-old girl, absolutely terrified to leave her home, literally crying herself to sleep because she misses her family. But, beneath Martin's fiery exterior, she saw a good, honest heart and bravely chose to follow him into the unknown. Talk about an incredible leap of faith for a young girl back in the 1780s.
Section 2. Taming the Pennsylvania Wilderness.
Okay, this right here brilliantly illustrates the reality of how a frontier was settled. Step 1. In 1795, Martin goes out, claims 200 acres of promised soldiers' land, and builds a single-room, dirt-floor cabin. Simple enough, right? But step 2 is where the real survival kicks in. A year later, Molly has to journey into that thick, dark forest carrying 4 little babies. She's the one actually sustaining human life out there. Just imagine the terrifying isolation, hauling every single drop of water from the creek, trying to cook meals over an open hearth, all while wolves are literally howling and wildcats are screaming right outside her flimsy wooden door. She had to become the ultimate protector and provider overnight.
Section 3. Motherhood, Loss, and Labor. 8. That is the total number of babies Molly birthed and raised while battling this harsh environment. Just let that sink in for a second. 8 kids. She brought 4 with her into the wilderness and then delivered 4 more right there on the unforgiving frontier. Miles and miles away from a doctor, relying entirely on her own strength and whatever tiny bit of help she could scrape together.
But as you can see here, frontier mortality rates weren't just statistics you would read about in a history book. They were Molly's deepest, most profound sorrows. While 6 of her children survived to adulthood to raise families of their own, she endured the agonizing, unimaginable pain of burying 2 of them. She lost her little girl Callie before she turned 14, and her son, Solomon, before he was 20. As she tells her grandkids, there's no pain like burying your own child. Having to process that kind of grief out in the middle of nowhere, that required a level of resilience that's honestly hard for us to even fathom today.
Putting their daily labor side by side like this really reinforces her powerful point. Martin worked the land fiercely, clearing massive trees and raising corn. That was backbreaking labor, no doubt. But Molly's domestic work? It was a relentless, never-ending grind from before dawn until long after dark, spinning flax and wool, weaving cloth on a heavy loom, churning butter, preserving food to somehow keep them alive through those brutal winters, and sewing every single stitch of clothing for a family of 10. Her labor was the literal engine of their survival. If she stopped, they froze or starved, period.
Section 4. Faith and Frontier Community.
Now, $10 might not sound like much now, but it was a massive sum back in 1799. The fact that Martin gave the largest subscription of anyone to the Upper Sandy Creek Presbyterian Church proves something huge. Their faith wasn't just some side note to their frontier story, it was the absolute center of their entire community. Committing that kind of money shows just how vital this institution was to their very existence out in the woods.
Because for Molly, church wasn't just about Sunday prayers. It was the ultimate social glue. This was a place for worship, sure, but it was also where they got to actually see neighbors, like the McCrackens. It's where they shared vital news from the outside world and found comfort through illness, harsh winters, and loss. It was the one place that reminded them, hey, we aren't completely alone out in this dark forest. It transformed a bunch of scattered, isolated cabins into a real, breathing community.
Section 5. Widowhood and Final Years.
Fast forward to January 25, 1835. After a remarkable 50 years of shared hardship, joy, and literally building a world out of nothing, Martin passes away at the age of 80. Molly sat in the back room they had built together, holding his hand as he finally left this world. She actually told her grandkids that when he died, she felt like half of herself had gone right along with him. A 50-year partnership forged in the wild, coming to a quiet, heartbreaking close.
But of course, Molly's story doesn't end there. She navigated her widowhood with fierce independence. Her son Henry inherited the home, but part of the deal was he had to care for her. Still, Molly actually took legal action to secure her own livelihood. In 1839, she went before a judge and swore out an application securing an $80 annual pension based on Martin's Revolutionary War service. And to prove it, she swore to his handwriting in their precious family Bible. That book recorded all her children's births, and she fiercely guarded it, even though she couldn't read the words herself. It was her history, her undeniable proof of a life fully lived.
Section 6. A Pioneer Woman's Legacy.
This is just incredible to me. Listen to this quote from her. "Don't ever think a woman's work is less important than a man's, because I lived a life that proves otherwise." Molly is explicitly demanding that her invisible labor, every single meal cooked over a hearth, every garment sewn by hand, every sick neighbor nursed back to health, be recognized. She is declaring without a hint of hesitation that women's domestic labor was nation-building, completely on par with the fighting of any soldier. She absolutely refused to let her monumental contribution be erased by time.
So, I want to leave you with this thought today. As you reflect on Molly's 82 years of grit, grace, and pure survival, consider the unrecorded histories of the women in your own family tree. Who are the women who paved the way for your own life through relentless, invisible labor? And how can we make sure their stories, just like Molly's, are carried forward before they're gone? Thank you so much for exploring this remarkable life with me today.